Now I know you've been really curious to know what the heck are these tools down in the corner of my recent tabletop videos. Well, they're not one, but two titanium carabiners that have been configured into a series of multi-tools. And so I've devised a series of tests to help us determine which one is more capable and if the idea of having tools on your carabiner is just a joke or actually might make some sense. And the wildly different price points are also going to be a major factor. And specifically today, we're going to be looking at the Civivi Polymorph along with the Rovyvon U4 Pro. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm Aaron. This is Gideonstactical. Let's dive in. Now our first test has to do with what carabiners are intended for, clicking on to things. And we'll start with the Civivi, and we're going to be using some Night Eyes S-Beaners number 2, and I was able to get 6 onto this before it wouldn't open anymore. Now the Rovyvon has a slightly different style, but still functions in a similar format, and I was able to get my entire collection of 9 number 2 S-Beaners with room to spare and still click on the Civivi. So when it comes to the idea of putting more keys or other types of attachments onto the carabiners, the Rovyvon easily wins. Now there are plenty of multi-tool carabiners out there, but few come with replaceable blades like the two we're looking at today. And the Civivi has 9CR 18 MOV blades. It comes with a multi-pack that you can replace, and ultimately you can swap out with, I believe, number 1 size utility / scalpel blades. So in order to hide the blade, you just depress the little tab and it goes into the body and will not come out. You have this little pivot right there, and you unscrew it in order to swap out the blades. There is a spring, so be careful when you are doing that you don't accidentally lose it, but you don't need any tools. You can actually set it in different grooves. If you want just a little bit of blade, you can kind of lock it and set it into place or give full exposure. Now performance-wise, it's a scalpel, so it's razor sharp, very precise, and very easy to open packaging, get through tape on a box, slice through some cardboard if necessary, do some cordage or harder plastic cuts. You're able to do that and really accomplish probably 80% of what a compact EDC pocket knife can do. Now the 9CR is a nice upgrade compared to most utility blades, which are some variant of 420 usually, like 420J, which is very rust resistant, very easy to make razor sharp, but they dull very quickly. So this 9CR is going to hold its edge longer, so you won't have to replace them as frequently, and in theory, you could resharpen them and continually use them for quite a long period of time. The one issue I found was in ergonomics. Because the blade comes out towards where your keys naturally want to hang, you then have to kind of pile them all up in the tighter, narrower portion back here, gripping the keys in your hand to get them away from the blade. And then it's just kind of an awkward, particularly if you're trying to use the tip of the scalpel grip, and you end up kind of doing more of like a pinch grip most of the time if you actually have keys on this. Now, if you're just using it as a basic tool, it's a little bit easier to manipulate, and if there's nothing hanging off of it, it will be a little bit more ergonomic, but that is something that I discovered with the Civivi. Now, the Rovyvon design is quite different, and there are actually, at the point of me making this video, 3 different versions. The most inexpensive version only has a folding knife and doesn't have the other tool we're about to look at. The Pro version that I have is a slip joint, so there's no locking mechanism, but it does have a stop at 90 degrees, so you can kind of cut that way, or at 180. And then based off of user feedback, they have also released a Pro Plus that has a little tiny push button lock for the blade, so it will lock into place if that's something you want. Now, these are going to be sporting number 11 utility or scalpel blades, and they perform very similarly to the Civivi. You're going to get similar cutting performance, similar usability, going through cardboard packaging, cordage, rope, plastic, all the stuff, and really do accomplish about 80% of what you would do with a pocket knife around your home or around the office. And what I see as one value point to these style of blades is if you live or work in an area where pocket knives are kind of frowned upon or possibly even not really allowed, obviously do everything at your own risk, these might, because they hide inside a carabiner, kind of allow you to skirt under the radar and still give you some cutting performance. So that is something to note. Now, between the two, when it comes to removal of the blade, the Civivi is much easier. You don't necessarily need a tool on these number 11s, but it's tricky. I did nick myself the first time trying to do it until I kind of figured out exactly how these mounted. It's a little safer because of how small the blade is to use like a set of pliers, but you can do it one-handed if necessary. Now, in my personal opinion, I feel like the Rovyvon is better designed to utilize the tool. You can see here, this is where your keys and beaners want to hang, out at the back pommel area, pommel, I guess, I'm thinking fixed blades, but you can see how much easier that is to hold, manipulate, and you get quite a bit of reach away from the body, and it's just a narrower performing tool, feeling like it's easier to manipulate. Whereas, again, the Civivi, the blade is a lot closer to the big rounded portion of the blade, or the body, and that's where your keys are hanging out, and it becomes a lot more cumbersome and just not as organic. This feels a lot more organic to use the blade on the Rovyvon than it does the Civivi. Now, these two tools have very different bit drivers that we'll get to in just a moment, but I do invite you guys to like and subscribe, and I want to take just a brief moment to thank the sponsor of this video, which is HUCKBERRY, and they are an excellent source for high quality gear and apparel. And there's one apparel brand in particular that's been redefining the way I stay cool and comfortable while I'm on the move in all of my activities, and it's Wellen. For instance, the Soul Performance Collection, which is crafted from Wellen's signature Cool Soft fabric, providing incredible comfort, quick drying tech, along with UV protection. So I stay protected and comfortable whether I'm hitting the trail or casting a line with the Soul Performance hoodie, or snagging a quick jog and wanting to catch some rays at the lake in the Soul Performance tee. But Wellen's got you covered in the lower half as well with their performance lined swim trunks. And I gotta tell you guys, these swim trunks aren't just for the water, though they excel in that, but I've used them on many of my active adventures, going on hikes with them, jogging with them, doing all sorts of different activities. And after that long day of adventuring, I can hop in the hot tub with my wife, and they work perfectly in that environment as well. So I've found that whatever adventures I have come across this summer, Wellen has got me covered. And these are just a few of the designs that Wellen Activewear offers. So I will have a link in the description box below this video, as well as is popping up in the corner right now, over to the HUCKBERRY website, as well as my exclusive 10% off promo code that you can apply towards your very first purchase. So I invite you to discover the perfect blend of style, comfort, and performance in Wellen Activewear. Now, when we look at the bits, the Civivi has quite a few to offer. They rotate right here on this little wheel, and you will get H2, H3 hex bits. You're going to get T6 and T8 torque bits, and you'll get a Phillips head as well as a flat head. Now, each one of those I found does definitely get the job done, and because they're on the back narrower end, it feels a little bit more organic and ergonomic than how we had originally experienced the manipulation of the blade. And the fact that they're all integrated in does give you a level of versatility that you may not get with all types of different carabiners. Case in point, the Pro and Pro Plus will have a bit driver. The original will not, and only have the blades that we previously looked at. But you have this little push button lock that the Pro Plus would have for the blade, and the screwdriver will not come out for that. You have to depress it, then the screwdriver will come out. It doesn't lock until you go all the way over, fully out. Then you have this little arm, 2-centimeter arm there, has a little ruler, I guess. And then you can choose between either a Phillips head and flat head, what is it, SL 3.5 driver, or you can do a T6 and T8 driver if that's something that you would prefer. And you can obviously swap in and out. There is a magnet housed way down in there to kind of hold the tools into place. But if it can't, like I just pulled one off of another tool set and put it in there, if it doesn't connect with that magnet, it'll just fall right out, and you got to kind of use, you know, pressure. You can get it done, and so you can use other bits if necessary. But if you were to ask me between the two, even though this is a little more ergonomic, giving you a little more reach to use whatever bits you're using, the Civivi has more variety and potentially will get more tasks done because of the spinning housing wheel with the different bits than the two that you're going to be stuck with on the Rovyvon. But leave a comment. Which one kind of do you guys prefer? Do you like the wheel design, or do you like the arm on the Rovyvon better? Before we get to price, there are a few more features that the Civivi has that the Rovyvon misses out on. One is a bottle cap opener, so you can do that, and it does have a hex holder right there, so you can put normal bits through if you want to use it that way and kind of use it as a turning mechanism. And then it does have a backup hole there if you want to throw a lanyard or something else through as well. Now that we've seen how each of these perform, what about cost? That's a big factor in this day and age, and what it's going to take to get into one of these tools if we decide to go with them, or if it's better just to pass on them altogether. Now, both Rovyvon and Civivi sent these models to me, so I'm just giving you data. It's up to you to determine which one would make more sense potentially for you. And we'll start with the more inexpensive version, which is the Rovyvon. The Rovyvon wins when it comes to price. The cheapest model is going to be about $35. The most expensive, with both locking and everything else, is $35 to $40 for this little tool. I know it's made out of titanium, but it is made in China. Currently, that's about the exact same price as a SOG Power Pint. If you're interested in this, I have my review popping up right here where you can dig into this. But this is an amazing EDC tool with way more capability than this little guy, and they're about the same cost. It's just kind of mind-boggling. So I don't know about that when it comes to value, unless you need a carabiner to do these very specific things. So you may be saying to yourself, okay, well, how much more could the Civivi be, right? You will be blown away. $80. $80. They have a couple different color combinations. $80 for this little carabiner when I'm making the video. Now you may say, well, what about the 9CR blades that the Civivi comes with? Those are gonna hold their edge potentially longer than just your generic replaceable utility blades. And that may be true, but I'm just not seeing the value. For some perspective, that's about within a couple bucks of the American-made Skeletool by Leatherman, right here. You're gonna spend within about $5, maybe $10 of each other. This, what? Here's a Swiss Army Tinker. I think I could get, what, like 3 of these, 4 of these made in Switzerland for one of these little guys, and about the same cost, or actually no, much more inexpensive. These are like $65 for the Gerber MP600. So at $80, I could buy 2 of the Rovyvons, and based off of purely my experience, my performance, this is my mileage, your mileage may vary, and I look forward to hearing your guys' comments. If I was gonna go with one, unless basically the wheel driver really made a lot of sense to me, I feel like the Rovyvon wins on many different levels. And ultimately, I think personally, it just makes more sense to go with one of the other multi-tools I just showed you. But that's me, and that's my mileage. I hope this video has been fun and entertaining. I look forward to hearing your guys' thoughts on these 2 multi-tooled carabiners, whether or not they make sense or not, and especially if you own one of them, how have they been performing for you? I always appreciate you guys hanging with me today. Check out the other video popping up. Subscribe if you haven't. Until next time, always remember to stay equipped, stay prepared. I'll see you out there.